Roadrunners Volleyball is a perennial power in Division II.
And they'll do it, the Roadrunners. They pull off the huge upset. They win 3-2 against the number 9 team in the nation.
Head coach Jenny Glenn took over the program 4 years ago.
Punch back, and that doesn't happen without hard work.
And has won 93 games, has earned 4 NCAA tournament appearances, and has coached 5 All-Americans.
Randy Torr on the assist to Sturgis, and it finds his way through, and count that as assist number 4,000.
But it didn't happen by accident. Coach Glenn says it's built on a solid foundation on which she calls her 6 pillars of success.
Well, the pillars of our program started, I think it's a culmination of experience. Experience as growing up with a dad as a coach, and playing in college, my time as a student athlete, as well as my coaching career, coaching all levels, and spending time with the collegiate national team for a little bit, and just, the culmination of that experience. I really want recruits to know exactly who we are and what we stand for, and that we have a DNA and we have an identity in this program. It's not, over here one day and over there the next day, depending on circumstances. When they're on their visits, they see them hanging in our office, they see them hanging in our locker room, and it's part of the conversation. And then our upperclassmen on our onboarding process with our freshmen go through the pillars and really make sure that they know what those pillars are and what they mean. I have not changed those 6 pillars from day one. It took a lot of time and thought into every aspect of the program, and that is one thing I say to my athletes all the time. Our pillars really aren't changing. They're like our roadmap, they're our compass, they're our stability, our anchor. Integrity is always the cornerstone. So pillar number 1, we don't really have them listed in an order. They're, kind of more like Stonehenge, a circle. But the first pillar we always talk about, and the foundation of our program, is integrity. If we don't have that cornerstone, we don't have anything. So that is a really big deal in our program, that we can trust each other, that we're doing what we say we're going to do, we're not being hypocritical.
It definitely means, who are you when no one's looking? So I would say, are you telling the truth? Are you cutting reps? Are you doing your homework? Are you holding yourself accountable? Are you holding your teammates accountable? It's what are you doing behind closed doors? Is it the same? Is it equivalent to what you're doing when the whole team's around, when the coaches are around, when the strength and conditioning coach is counting your reps right there? Who are you?
The communication pillar is probably behind integrity, the second one we usually talk about, because it really is all-encompassing. And if you look in our championship manual, the way we define that pillar is really multifaceted. It's how do we communicate on the volleyball court? What are we saying in different moments? And communication actually in the sport. There's another section that talks about how are we communicating with our coaches? How are we communicating the right way with our teammates? And making sure that, we're not just texting or having unemotional conversations, where we don't attach anything to that, but having face-to-face conversations. How we communicate with our professors and how big of a deal that is off the court as well. So, I think in a world where technology is always changing, and communication is a pillar for us, and that doesn't mean just texting. That means how we talk to each other, how we listen to each other. It's a really big deal, for the rest of the pillars to be able to kind of come to life as well.
It's when it's volleyball time, and we put everything into it. So we kind of look at it as our pulse. Are we alive? Are we dead today? So when we're not talking, when we're not over communicating on offense and defense, that shows, and it says that we're not alive today. Our pulse isn't there.
So, this idea of that I can always get better, I'm always pushing my limits, don't put the brakes on, don't put walls around what you're capable of doing, but continue to push that, and it's really uncomfortable. So I think, to be comfortable being uncomfortable takes a little bit of a growth process in the program. So that growth mindset pillar, while I really feel like our program wants to train and wants to get better, it's a daily battle for our athletes, sometimes all of us, to say, I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to be comfortable right now. I'm going to keep pushing the envelope. And I believe that I can get better, not that I'm reached my potential or I just can't do that thing. How we define that is we can't have perfect execution, but we can have perfect effort. So every day we walk in the gym, we're going to give it our best, which is a big order. It's a tall order because some days we don't feel like that, right? So because it's a pillar for us, it's a non-negotiable. You know, we talk about living by our principles, not by our feelings. We live by our pillars, not how we feel that day.
Your actions kind of back up what you say. And so perfect effort is always showing that you put effort in. So even when nothing works out, you have the proof to back it up that you did everything you can to make sure it turned out the way you wanted, even if it didn't. So in a volleyball scenario, you didn't get the ball up, but you went through every effort to do it. So my action shows me hitting the floor when the ball hit the floor, me running through it to show that I was going for it, even if I didn't get the outcome I wanted.
You know, you have these concepts sometimes, and then somebody says something, and it kind of puts it in its boundaries. And I heard John Dunning, from the Stanford coach, at one point use this term and kind of what that means. And I love what it is, because it's not we're just together, but we're growing together. You know, and kind of what that pillar entails is we all come to the table with different gifts. We all come to the table with different abilities. And as a team, we have this collective pile kind of in the middle of the circle. Maybe after a tough weekend, we won a 5-set match. Okay, well, that just grew our pile, because this crew specifically learned how to get tough in the 5th set. And now we're prepared better for the future. So everything we do has purpose. Everything we do is collectively growing our pile. And when it comes, if our pile's really big and it comes down to crunch time, we have a lot to access out of that, you know? And at the same time, if we're not bringing our best effort that day, we're actually pulling away from the pile. So it's this idea that we are dependent on each other, that our choices and our attitudes affect each other, and we have this collective pile that we're all drawing from.
Growing together, I think it really has to be organically made, because you need to have those conversations. There needs to be one-on-ones, there needs to be group outings, but not just planned group outings, spontaneous ones that, you know, those are the best times. And so we really try to develop those, whether they're on the court or in the bus or through Zoom calls, through FaceTimes, our newbies, when we're FaceTiming them and they haven't even stepped foot on campus, that's where we really want to have those organic conversations.
Love and respect is the pillar everyone wants to talk about. You know, they're the one, when we divvy out pillars, it's like, who wants to describe love and respect? I think they all would grab at that. But it has a lot more depth than it even sounds. You know, it's important that we love the game. You know, a good measure of that is, are they playing on their own when the coaches aren't there? You know, are they playing pickup games? Are they loving the game? And we want that to be a pillar, because that should always be there. It's not necessarily always fun. You know, we might have times where it's, you know, hard and difficult, but that's a good thing too, and we can still love it. And respect, you know, is respect each other, respect our officials, and respect our coaches, respect the athletic administration, the people that are working hard for us. And if we have this pillar of love and respect, we should be really thankful for the opportunity to step in the gym every day.
We look at this as perspective, I would say, just because we'll come together and we can look at some misfortunes that other people have, and we look at it, well, today is a day to play volleyball. We should be so grateful that we get to step foot, practice, sweat, bleed, whatever the case may be together. And especially with the pandemic and everything, I think that taught us to love and respect the game even more, because it was literally taken away from us. I remember the day she sat us down right before practice and said, this will be our last practice. And that was the best practice we had all spring. And it showed how much we were not giving, if that makes sense. We weren't loving and respecting the game. And I think this has been the biggest lesson as a senior, to love and respect volleyball, because you never know when it will end. I always say, if I didn't go to MSU Denver, I feel like I would be a completely different person. I have so much more perspective. I feel like when I was coming out of high school, I had one perspective, and it was volleyball, and I was going to start, and I was me. And so when I went to MSU Denver and being under Jenny, I've been exposed to so many more perspectives, oh, maybe, you know, she has this in mind, or maybe I need to think outside of myself. And so I don't even know who I would be, but I don't think I would like her. But I almost, when I'm talking to my mom, I will include conversations that me and Jenny have had, or the team and I have had, or stuff like that. And sometimes I'll tell my mom things that Jenny has done with our program, and my mom will steal it for her program. So yeah, I think it's definitely changed me, and it's kind of just, like I said, our culture is like, there's no way you're not going to come out a different person.
Everything we do is a bigger picture purpose, right? You know, whether we're competing and working hard in a practice when we don't feel like it, we're learning how to do that when we don't feel like going to work in our job, you know, or we have to have that tough conversation with a teammate, just like you have to have the tough conversation with your sister when you get in a fight, you know, and you need to reconcile that and you need to work through those tough moments. And so everything we do in athletics, everything we do in our program is preparing us to live the rest of our life with purpose and with success and with joy and all those pieces. You know, that's our goal, that when they leave this program, they're not just, you know, accomplished volleyball players or All-Americans or, you know, part of an NCAA championship team, but that they go out there and then they pay it forward and that they live a successful life, you know, that has a lot of purpose behind it, you know. That's why, you know, I say we live within those pillars, we live on purpose. And so we want to instill that in them. And I think, you know, our athletes really take a lot of pride in that. You know, when at first it might just seem like, whoa, there's a pillar we got to live by, you know, but all of a sudden it becomes like, yeah, this is how we do things, you know, and are we perfect all the time? Absolutely not, you know, but our effort is there, you know, our perfect effort is there, and that kind of brings things together.
Next week on Roadrunners All Access, we take a look at the 2 stars that define the women's soccer program. What do they mean? What do they represent? And how much tradition does it bring to every practice and to every game?